Hi everyone, I am Ajay. I'm a Microsoft Certified Solution Developer. This is part 2 of C Sharp newly introduced feature, C Sharp 8. And in part 1, we discussed about nullable reference types. In this video, we'll talk about deconstructors, positional and property pattern. So let's get started. So what is pattern matching? First off, many of us might have used this is pattern to see if an object is of a specific type, and will to check whether an object is of a specific type, we use is operator. Like if past object is this kind of student or this type of object, then we use to cast that object using as operator to further explore the properties or underlying properties or method inside that object. But in C Sharp 7 we got this feature by which we can assign that type into a into a variable instead of using as operator like this. If passed object is this type of object is a student, then just cast this object into a variable named s, and we can then further explore the properties or methods written for inside this class. So what's new we got in this in C Sharp 8? So what if we want to apply some more patterns on a typecasted object that passes this is check. Let's say if we pass object to a function, and we just want to return that function a boolean value if a past student comes from a specific country, or if a past student has got a specific age, then we want to return that function a boolean value. So let's see in picture to understand it in a better way. So let's jump to Visual Studio. So in the interest of time, I have already created a console application in which we have three classes. One is student, which has got four properties: name, age, country, and course. And then in course class we have got three properties, which is name, duration in weeks, and trainer. And for trainer we have got two properties: name and email. So let's say let's talk about is property that we just discussed. So let's say we have a let's create an object of trainer class. Let's make it static trainer t equal to new trainer. And for this trainer, and I'm assigning this trainer a name, and I'm not assigning any email to this trainer. And let's create a student as well. In the interest of time, I have also created a student. Let me copy the value of that student. Let's name, I've created collections of students. So we have created an object of a trainer, and we have list of students. Okay, and in our public static void main method, let's say we want to create a function. We want to create a function that will return a boolean value whether passed object is a student, and that's it. First off, let's C Sharp 7 provided us. I'm writing a static function, public static bool a student object, and let's say we can pass this function any object. Let's declare it as object. We can pass it to we can pass a trainer, we can pass a student or a list of students. Let's see, object, and we just want to return whether object is student. That's it, simple. So this function will return whether passed object is an instance of a student. So let's see it in picture. So let's write inside a static class to make our life easier. Public static positional pattern, position pattern, and let's paste it inside this class. So let's see, putting dot a student object, let's pass trainer to it. Let's see what it prints. Now we are seeing first off what C# 7 provided us, and then we'll jump to C# 8 feature. So trainer, okay, bool is trainer. So is trainer is passed, object is a trainer. So let's say is past object is a trainer, that's a sprint is trainer. Simple. Let's see. So let's see. Yes, is past object is a trainer? No, it's not a trainer. Why? So is student object, is student object? No, because we passed a trainer object. So let's pass a student object. I'm passing a student object. Let's see. Why? So students, what, let's make it static, is past object is a student, is student, sorry, and let's see. There it is. Yes. Now what if in C# 7, before C# 7, what if we wanted to print some details about that student, if it's really a student? We used to put these kind of checks, like if passed object is type of student, then cast it to object using as operator, and then access some properties to print, like name of student is, name of student is as dot name, right? And return let's say bool result equal to false and result equal to true, and then return just result. So this is before C# 7. This is before C# 7. So let me run it once again. So this is, as you can see, the name of the student is Monica. Now this is before C# 7, and what Microsoft introduced in case of C# 7, we do not need to use as operator. We can convert it, we can write it concisely. I'm just commenting this line of code to write it in a single line. What we can do here is, if object is student, then convert it into as. Simple. So there is no need to write as student. So if object is type of student, then we can access all the underlying properties or methods using this as variable, and we can just go ahead and just write this line of code. Simple. Let's see it in action. It's good, it's working. Now, what's new in C Sharp 8? As C Sharp 8 introduced lots of patterns, positional patterns through which we can we can further dig in some properties. Let's say if you want to check a past object type along with other property values, whether a past object is a student, and if that student comes from a specific country, if that student has got some specific age or roll number, so we can put those extra checks using positional pattern in C sharp 8. So to leverage this positional patterns uh, in practice, first off we need to introduce deconstructor in the concerned classes, on which we use these positional patterns. So let's say we want to further use whether this past object is a student, and student comes from a country like India or USA, or student has got a name Monica, or student has got an age of 30. So we can do these, we can apply these kind of checks by by writing some deconstructors in the concerned classes first. So first off we need to go back to student class, and we need to introduce deconstructor here, public void deconstruct. And what a deconstructor does is it gives us access to these properties by writing some out parameters. So with the help of these parameters we can take out these properties values to external variables, so that we can apply position pattern into them. So public string name, out string name, we just need to keep in mind what kind of property we want to use in our positional pattern. So we just need to deconstruct only those properties to external variables. So public name, it could be a public name, and let's say we want to play with the age property as well. So out int age, out string country, out course, and we just want to assign these out variables these properties. This name, this out parameter will contain the value of this name property, and this age out parameter will point to this age property, this country will point to this country property. And see, these are out parameters which are taking out the values from these properties. So it is a mandatory step to perform positional pattern, to apply positional pattern before any class. Okay, so we have introduced a deconstructor here, and after introducing a deconstructor we just need to write out properties, and after writing out variables we just need to assign property names to those out variables. Now let's go back to our code. Now what we wanted to do here is we wanted to see whether past object is a student, and more specifically if that student, I'm removing this example. So this is in case of C sharp 7, but in case of C sharp 8 we can go ahead and further dig in object whether this object is student. And if it is a student, we are further interested in, let's say student has got maybe 4 properties, right? So we can see what how many properties we have got in our deconstructor: 1 2 3 and 4. So when we say, so it points to deconstructor. Okay, so this is called as discard pattern, this is called as discard pattern. So we are interested if the past object is a student, and we are not concerned about anything whether that student has got any name or age, whether name is starting from a specific variable, which country he or she comes from, or what kind of course he or she involved, or registered himself or herself. So this is called as discard pattern. So but let's see it in picture. It will execute in every case, and we can assign this to a variable as well. Okay, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. We just used a discard pattern where we are not specifically interested in any property, so we just wrote whether the past object is a student, and we are not concerned about this references to our deconstructor, and we are not only we are not we are not interested in any kind of specific property. And now but we are interested whether uh, whether student comes from a specific country, and country should be USA. So this is the third property in our deconstructor. So let's go back to our program file, and I'm just copying it, or instead of copying it, I'm just writing it here. So we are interested whether past object is a student and he or she comes from USA, then only we want to print the details of that student. Okay, and we can also print country name. Country name is like s dot country. See, let's see. Yes, name of the student is Monica and country name is USA. Let's pass another student who comes from India. Let's say I'm just interested in passing in this student. Let's make it a first, and let's cut it. Let's okay, now this will be the this will be passed as the first object, and this student comes from India. Let's give it a go and see whether that output appears or not. It doesn't. As you can see, it doesn't, because in C#8 we used deconstructor. We just first we added a deconstructor. Deconstructor is a way to pass on these property values to some out variables, so that we can apply position pattern on them, right? So and if we go back to our code, we this is the way, this points to our deconstructor, where first property is a discard pattern. We are not interested whether this we are not interested whether the student has some specific name or starts with or ends with, but we are only interested in country. Country should be USA. Okay, and now we can recursively apply this thing. uh, let's say we are also interested whether the student has registered himself or herself in a course named c#.net. So we can go ahead further. So let's say let's pass on let's add some course details for other students as well. Let me pass on some other details. Let me pass on some other details for this student, and this course name is PHP, let's say. Okay, now we are interested we are interested only those students who comes from USA, and they enrolled themselves with a course named PHP. Okay, so now we want to we want to use positional pattern with an object named course. But let's go back to course. Do we have any deconstructor? No. So first off, if we want to use this class object in our positional pattern, first off we need to declare a deconstructor here. Public void, it should be public, and return type should be void, and public void deconstruct, and we just need to declare some out variable on which we want to apply our condition. Let's say I'm only interested about the course name, so out parameter with the same we need to declare out parameter with the same data type that we have, and we are only interested in name. So let's say name equal to this property name, so that way we can access this course in our positional pattern. So let's go back to our this and instead of applying discard pattern, we'll be using course, like the you know like we did in case of student. So course, and course should be like PHP. And if we just write single, we don't care what kind of course student enrolled himself or herself, but we are interested in PHP course. Let's see what it returns. It won't return anything because our first student who comes from India. So let's see if I look into this collection. Our first student is a student who comes from India and who enrolled himself in a PHP course, and we are passing only first object in this function. So let's see, if student comes from India and enrolled himself in a PHP course, what does it do? See, we can see the output. Now we can so we can discard these things. We can directly go without name, and we can also, oh sorry, we cannot discard because we are passing it as object. So you know it's a it's an extension to, instead of just checking a type of past object, we can further go ahead and we can seek into other properties or values or nested properties, whether they also meet our conditions. If they meet our conditions, then we will only interested performing some other logics. So but it seems there is this property pattern as well. So in case of property pattern, so we do not need to it can create some confusion, like where it points to. So where we are applying this discard pattern, for which property we are applying discard pattern, so it can create some confusion. So instead of using this positional pattern, we can also use property pattern. So what does this property pattern do? So in case of property pattern, we can just specify the property names. So how we can do this? So instead of writing this way, so let me write it the way it was earlier. So if we want to apply property pattern, we just need to write curly parenthesis, and we just need to write the property name instead of passing discard pattern for other properties. Okay, here we applied, if past object is a student and he comes from country USA, then we want to print these details. And if we want to go further with the course details, course, so we are interested that course name should be PHP, or student should be from India. See, we can see the output. And to use this property pattern, I don't think we need deconstructors. Let me see, and let me comment this deconstructor for our course. So property pattern, so let me comment all the deconstructors that we defined, and let's go back to our program and let's see. Now still we can apply this property pattern without deconstructor, but if we want to apply deconstructor with positional pattern, we have to have deconstructors in our classes. And as you can see, I have commented out the deconstructors that we introduced in case of course and student class, and still we are able to use this property pattern. So here we are saying, if past object is a student, and more specifically if that student comes from a country named India and course name is PHP, then we are interested in printing the details for that student. Let's see it in action. That's it. Let's pass another student who comes from USA first. I just need to cut it to make it second student, because this comes from USA and enrolled in C Sharp.net, and we are only passing first object. Let's see if it prints something. Nothing. That's it for this video. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.